So we are joining Legally Sam to play Unsighted with the bonus incentive to get a pet dog. So that should be pretty fun, just to fucking, I guess, make the game. I guess it's to make the game last. But yeah, pretty much just gonna watch. Let me just make sure I'm getting this right. Yeah, watch him play through that. Watch him get a pet dog. Maybe, and let's just see how it goes from there. Alright, I believe we are now ready to go.
Alright, hello there everybody, I'm IllegallySam, and this is going to be Unsighted any %. As you just heard, we will be getting a dog because everybody donated to meet that incentive. I won't be getting the dog for like the first 5-10 minutes or so because it takes a little bit to get to the point where I can actually rescue the dog, because the dogs in this game are one of the collectibles, and so in order to save the first dog we have to actually get to the point where the run where it's possible. But I figure we can talk about that some more while we get things underway, and yeah, we can just go ahead and get started and, you know, start doing it. So the run will start when I select the difficulty here, so I'll give a countdown and we can get going. So let's go in 3, 2, 1. Alright, so this is Unsighted. For anybody not aware of it, this is kind of like a Zelda-y, Metroidvania-y indie game, where you can see from like the top-down nature, you know, Zelda-y, we've got to get a bunch of upgrades, do a bunch of dungeons. It's Metroidvania-y because, you know, all of the upgrades are directly affect what kind of places we can go to and everything like that. Also, the code here for this lab is the same every single time, so we can just go ahead and leave. We don't have to actually worry about finding the code.
So basically, if you just played the game for long enough, you could just, if you played the game as much as you have, then basically you could just straight up just go, yeah, just put the code in and get the fuck out of there, basically.
Exactly. So this game is more knowledge-based than other Metroidvanias typically are, and the reason for that is going to be clear in a little bit. Alright, yeah. Cool. So what I was doing there is, by breaking those two things in that specific sequence right there, I made it so that they both gave me the same crafting material, because this game has a crafting system, and what that means is instead of sequence breaking the game normally, you know, going out of your way to find a bunch of upgrades, that kind of thing, instead, we're able to craft all the permanent upgrades right at the beginning of the game, and then just go through all of the dungeons immediately after with all of the upgrades. And so that just makes it so the run is 10 minutes of crafting and then 20 minutes of just doing dungeons and bosses. Right, so right here I'm doing a little bit of a sequence break where by getting on top of that sign, I'm able to just jump across the gap, and normally I would have to go find a gun in order to hit that switch. But by doing that, I can just skip that sequence entirely, and now this is a fight that you're intended to lose casually, but we can win. And we do want to win this fight because you get a special weapon reward for winning, and we need that weapon.
Oh, so it's basically like the case of just like, you're not supposed to win it, but basically, if you just do it nice, if basically you do win it, you get like this really good piece of equipment that really helps you throughout the rest of the run.
Exactly. So while it's not like a weapon we're going to be using for the entire run, it is a weapon that has fire properties, and that means any environmental objects that require fire can be activated by it, and so that makes it so we don't need to go find something else for that.
Yeah.
Alright, but now that we are out of the prologue, we got to do a quick shopping trip to get some more materials so that we're good to go for the beginning here.
Yeah.
Alright, so buy 2 iron ingots, 4 electric coils, 3 engine oil, and then 10 metal scraps, because that's all we can afford. Yeah. And let's do some crafting. We're not doing all of the crafting right now, though. just a little bit.
Yeah. Just a little bit to get you prepared for what comes next, basically.
Yeah, so basically we make the main method of movement for the entire game, which is the spinner. In addition to just going faster, if you know what you're doing, you can also use it to skip over water like this. And by skipping over water, that just makes it so we can go pretty much anywhere we want in the entire world. So we're, 3-4 minutes into the run, and we're already got pretty much full movement.
Yeah.
All right, ran out of stamina. Okay. The timing is a little tricky sometimes, so I'm probably going to mess it up a couple of times here and there, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious when you've got a hook shot.
Basically a bit...
But not just one hook shot. But two.
A bit, so, bit like... that's something. Oh, that's better. Sorry, signal just got lost on the other stream for a second. It's back. So, basically, in a way, it's like Breath of the Wild in a kind of way, with like the way that you use like hook shot, like kind of grapple hook to get from place to place in that game, in ways.
Exactly. Also, I made a quick detour because here's the dog that we're going to be rescuing.
I see.
Right, so I feel like there's only one name we can give this dog. It's Shaq. Shaq the Shiba.
Yeah, everyone likes Whoopi.
And so we can pet the dog. Naturally.
Should call him Shaq Fu.
There was actually enough characters I probably could have. All right, and then,
well.
Because that was a little out of the way, the fastest way to get back is by quitting out and then respawning real quick. And so that takes us back to the last checkpoint that I was at, and now we can keep moving. The dog is going to be with us for the entire run, so we're going to have Shaq with us the entire time.
Yeah, always wanted Shaquille O'Neal.
Alright, so yeah. So throughout the run, I'm going to be picking up a few of these chips here, where if you've played Hollow Knight or a game with a similar system, it's kind of like the Charms in that game, where you have a limited number of slots. Each of the chips gives you some sort of upgrade in some way, shape, or form, and they each take up a certain amount of those slots that you have, and so I'm going to be picking up a few of them at certain points to make use of their effects. But I'm also taking another detour here because you see that axe in that enemy up ahead. That axe is the best weapon that I can get for most of the run, so I'm going to want it real quick.
I see. That would be very useful for that I can imagine being very useful for later.
Exactly, because like I mentioned, we have to fight 5 bosses in order to unlock the final dungeon, and then there's the final boss. And so increasing my damage output is going to be very useful.
Definitely.
Alright, so yeah, I'm still in the prep phase right now because I'm basically going around collecting a few objects, whether it's crafting materials or chips that I need, while also unlocking a few fast travel stations. And then once that's done, I will finish up the crafting, and then we, start the meat and potatoes, which is doing the dungeons and the bosses.
Start the big grind to take care of the bosses, and then unlock the final boss.
Yeah, exactly. Because in order to get into the final dungeon, we need the 5 MacGuffins to craft the Super MacGuffin. It's the 5 meteor shards, and then by collecting all 5 meteor shards, you're able to craft the meteor blade, which is used to actually get into the final dungeon. And once we get that meteor blade, that will be our main weapon for the rest of the game, but until we get to that point, we're going to be using that axe.
Yeah.
And I mentioned at the beginning of the run, like when I destroy those crystals, by destroying them all before I actually get the material from the first one, it makes it so they all drop the same material. And that's because each of those crystals, it drops a certain material based on like how many materials you're currently holding. And so by not picking up the one that I get from the first one, I'm able to make it so they all drop the same thing, which is very important for the resource routing, because in order to craft everything that we need specific numbers of specific resources.
Yeah.
All right. But now that we've unlocked 2 fast travel stations and gotten some other stuff along the way. That was the wrong terminal. Whoops. That's fine. Just say hi to Gear Village and then go where I actually want to. There we go. Alright, so we make it back to where we were not too long ago, because where we got the dog was actually the first dungeon. So we got a quick pit stop with this traveling merchant to buy some more metal scrap, because metal scrap is the resource we need by far the most of. And let's do some more crafting.
Sounds good.
Alright. And you do have to be a little careful with the crafting, because if you mess up the recipe, you lose the materials. So you just gotta make sure you actually have everything down correct. Like my first couple of runs, I had the blueprints up next to me to make sure I was getting them correct. But I'm good at this point. I've done them enough times.
Yeah.
Alright, and then the last one. I'll explain what all of these are in a moment, but I'm just making sure I get all the recipes correct. Alright. And then immediately after, we're going to do the first glitch of the run. This is a weird shot, and it lets us shoot our hook shot through walls to hit switches, as long as I line it up correctly. It's a little finicky, so it's a little tricky, but we're doing this to basically go in the back way through this dungeon and skip the entire thing.
Yeah, basically skip the entire thing, just get to the boss.
Exactly. That's what that's a common theme for all of these dungeons. We're gonna do none of them as intended. Alright, and this is why I needed the flame blade specifically, and not just for the using the sword. It's because I need to burn these vines here. And you need fire in order to fight this boss, so by having the flame blade, that makes it so we don't need to figure something out for it. We could just use the weapon that they give us. Alright, now it's time for the first boss. This is Asana. Once I fall down here, I'm going to activate one of the things that I crafted, which are the consumable cogs. The two specific types of cogs that I have are attack and stamina cogs. 5, 6... Okay. So yeah, by timing your attacks, you're actually able to hit the boss during its spawn animation and get some damage off, which is what I did there.
Yeah.
But the attack cog, what that does is for 20 attacks, it makes it so you do 33% more damage with all of your melee hits. And so obviously that's good for going fast.
Yeah, I get ya.
Alright, so yeah, this game also has a parry mechanic, and so if you parry enemies with the correct timing, you're able to make it so that they get stunned, and you're able to do massive damage to them while they're stunned. And so pretty much every boss fight in this game is I'm gonna be taking pot shots here and there as I go, but the most important thing is to parry the bosses when they attack me so I can retaliate with massive damage.
Yeah.
Right, then after every boss, it's one of these segments here. These are very annoying because you just kind of have to memorize the paths. That's all there is to it. Each boss has a specific one that they always have, so you can memorize them, thankfully, but they're obviously just annoying.
Yeah, just a bit of a hindrance in between.
Alright. But now that we beat that first boss, we're gonna get some chip slots by using the money that we got from the boss to equip some new chips. And the chips that I have equipped right now are the strength chip, which makes it so I do more melee damage, the spin attack chip, which makes it so that my spin attack does more damage, and the spin charge chip, which makes it so the spin attack charges faster.
Ooh, I see.
The other chips that I have, I'm not going to be... there's one more that I'm going to pick up after this next boss, which is the combo chip, and that's the last one I'm going to be picking up, because this game also has a mechanic where as you do damage to enemies without getting hit, you build up a combo, which you might have noticed in the top left.
Yeah.
Under my health. And the way that works is that combo is basically a direct multiplier to your damage. And so it starts out by being able to go up to ×2, but there's a specific chip that you can get that increases it to being able to go to ×3. And so once we get a chip that modifies that, I'll be able to go up to ×3 with my multiplier instead, which...
Yeah.
A big part of combat is just maintaining that.
Interesting.
Alright, so this dungeon here, you're supposed to go throughout the dungeon to find a code, and then input it in order to reach the boss.
Is this
you,
the
like,
same as the beginning area where basically the code's exactly the same?
Exactly. So we can just come here, input the code, and just go fight the boss immediately.
Damn.
So, yeah, this is, in my opinion, one of the harder bosses in the run because, one, ice physics for the entire fight, and two, just because this boss has more RNG than a lot of the other bosses. So it's a little tricky, but as long as it goes well, it doesn't have to go perfectly. And once again, we can hit it during the spawn animation. Just get some free pot shots off. Yeah, one of the items that I crafted was the shotgun, which is the weapon I have in my secondary slot. And the reason for that is it's really good for boosting your combo by hitting enemies with it, and it's also just a good way to get some extra damage off when you're not able to get close to the boss.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't break the boss out of stun when they're after you parry them, so it's a good way to build up your combo while that's the case. Right, the boss is almost dead.
Right.
Yeah, there we go. That was a pretty good fight. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah,
Also, our dog.
Well, considering
Yeah,
the fact that you said it's supposed to be quite difficult.
That fight can go significantly worse if it doesn't want to cooperate, but thankfully it tagged me, so I was able to parry it pretty quickly. Also, the whole time, our dog is just taking pot shots at the enemies as well, because the dog
I noticed that with the first, the first couple of attacks that you were doing, that the dog was just constantly, that Shack was just constantly taking little bites out of the frost automaton.
Yep, Shaq knows how to throw hands.
Well, not surprising. It's Shack.
Alright, but now that we've defeated Maria, we're on to the next dungeon, which is the library, or the museum, which has a library.
Yeah.
Okay, these enemies are getting in the way. Messing up. Because when you hit enemies with the spinner, you are able to hit them, and so that makes things a little awkward at times, but there we go, got the max combo chip. Make sure I unequip my cogs so that I don't waste my shots, my attacks with it.
Yeah.
Alright. And I have to take some specific movement in this next room here to not trigger a wave fight, because if you go near that chest, you spawn a bunch of enemies and you can't leave. So obviously I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that can cause issues.
Alright. So yeah, this is the dungeon where you're supposed to unlock the spinner. And so, it's very centered around it as a mechanic, but since we already have the spinner, that lets us just skip around and do things in a different order.
Yeah. So basically, because you're supposed to unlock it in the dungeon, you're supposed to go down one path and then down the other path once you've got it. But because you already have it, you can just go straight into the next part of the dungeon and just completely skip that first part.
Exactly. Also, because I was able to do another weird shot right there, we can also just break the sequence. That has nothing to do with the spinner, that's just another way we break this dungeon apart. Alright, that's the one time I need to get a key. Because in order to get to the boss, we have to activate, 2 terminals. And while I'm not going to be getting to either of those terminals as intended, I still do need to activate them. Alright. Yeah, that combat arena that I kind of just left during, that's the combat arena that you're supposed to complete it, and then the game gives you a chest with the spinner in it, but because we already have the spinner, we can just leave.
You just skip it and just leave it, like it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Move tech in this game is very interesting.
Oh yeah, no, this is once you know what you're doing with the movement, this game is a very satisfying game to move around in. It's just very difficult. Because whenever I'm using the spinner to go over the water, I have to constantly use the attack button every time I get close to the water. And so every time I skip off of the water, that requires a specifically timed input to do so. Also, Shaq is hungry, so we're going to feed Shaq real quick.
Okay, cookie.
There, Shaq's happy now. That probably won't be the last time Shaq asks for food. Shaq's a big guy, he needs to eat. Right, but yeah, we're supposed to use a key to get to this terminal, but because we have the hookshot, we can just go around the side and do that instead.
Yeah.
Alright, and while this next boss is not, literally free or anything, it's also not a boss that has, too much interesting going on in terms of mechanics. It's just like, don't get hit and keep hitting it whenever you can. So if you've got anything you want to read, now's a good time.
Okay, I guess I'll go through some. I guess I'll try and see if there's been any more donations to see what we can go through. Then I might just list out a couple of incentives that we have yet to reach. Okay, so that's the wrong part of it. There we go. So, for those of you that are in the channel, those of you that are watching right now, there are some bonus incentives that you can join in to help us kind of extend our runs, and also help us keep our runs going to make them last longer and run over time, maybe, or even just as a bit of fun to make the game a little bit more interesting. So out of the ones that are still remaining that need a little bit more money towards, there's the Ghost in the Yard bonus run, which will basically be the first world of the Apocalypse worlds, which are a even more brutally difficult version of the first world of the game, but with with a bit more to it to make them a little bit more harder and frustrating for those that are playing it. The bonus Nokia missions for Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure for like 50, where I don't really know much about that, but basically adds a little bit of extra length to it. Flipping Ultimate Free Exodus, where basically you kill Lord British. I, yet again, don't really know much about that, but I'm assuming it just makes the game go on a little bit longer, and he might be a really challenging fight. There's the incentive to watch the cutscenes of the PS1 Spider-Man game, which basically gives you a chance to flipping J. Jonah Jefferson to basically start ranting about flipping getting more pictures of Spider-Man, from what I can gather. And there's basically forcing someone to eat a raw piece of garlic from Wario World. So if you just fancy seeing someone do something really disgusting, that could be just a nice bit of fun and make the stream a little bit more interesting for all you deviants out there.
Alright, so unfortunately, that boss fight didn't go well. That's like the first time I've died on the boss fight in a hot minute, so that's a little unfortunate, but it happens. So I had to do a bit of a salty run back in order to get back in time to fight the boss again.
Fair enough. Hopefully this time it goes better.
Yep. Yeah, so what happened was I missed the parry timing a couple of times. That obviously wasn't good. So hopefully I just don't mess it up again this time.
Yeah.
There we go.
Nice.
So yeah, the parry timing for some of these fights is like a lot more precise than it might seem. It's not like absurdly precise so that it's like frame perfect or anything, but it's definitely not easy for some of these fights, and some of these fights are like, it comes out pretty quick, so you kind of just have to know what you're doing ahead of time.
Yeah. It can be pretty relentless if you're not paying attention and lose focus on what you're doing.
That's how the fight should have gone the first time.
Yeah.
Nice and easy. Right.
Nice one.
Alright, so we gotta do another one of these segments. I think I have like most of the first 4 of them decently memorized, not like perfectly or anything, but like well enough that like I'm not too worried about them. But like the 5th one, I just has not clicked yet.
The 5th boss still has a bit of still needs a bit of work to it.
Well, the funny thing is the 5th boss is actually the easiest one as far as the fight itself, but like the post-boss path is the hardest one.
I see.
Alright, so now we're gonna warp back to Gear Village.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is... well, first let me unequip my attack cog so I don't waste it, and then get some new chip slots. So now we can equip the chip that makes it so our max combo goes up better. 2 times 3. And now one of the warp points we activated earlier, we're gonna warp back. Because now it's time to fight the boss of the factory. This is another dungeon that still requires, like, some stuff to be done, but I can skip most of it. Like this gate here, which we're supposed to open, we can just jump over it.
What the hell?
Alright, so
some of the skips that you can do in this game are just kind of like that I've seen you do are just kind of insane.
Yeah, they're the kind of skips that you would never think of doing casually, because you just wouldn't even know that they're possible.
It just almost completely shatters the game in half.
Yeah, it's like basically anything I'm doing as far as like normal sequence breaks go, which is like crafting the items early and doing stuff based on that, is like kind of intended, because there's a mode you can unlock called New Game Extra, which makes it so you start the game with all of these blueprints, and so the game intends you to be able to craft them right away. But some of the other stuff I'm doing not so much. So the whole gimmick of this dungeon is that it's like there's a switch that turns on the factory, makes all the lava appear, turns on all the fire, and we need to hit that switch. And the reason why I quit out to the menu to go back to the checkpoint is in order to get back to this robot, this giant mech suit. Whoops. The mech suit requires the factory to be on in order for it to work, but in order to get to it normally, you have to like do a wave fight, go through a bunch like some combat stuff like that. So yeah, instead of that, I just quit out to the menu and I skip it. Alright, so I need to activate a switch so that the robot has a path to use to get across. And then, once I do that, I'm able to absolutely demolish the rest of the dungeon. Because the way you're intended to go through this dungeon is there's like 2 upgrades that you're supposed to get for the mech suit. One of them makes it so it can push giant crates, and one of them gives it rockets. But by doing a weird shot here, we're able to just go directly to the rocket upgrade, and we can skip the rest of the dungeon. Because that's the only thing that's blocking off the boss fight, is the ability to shoot rockets with the mech suit. So this is the dungeon where you're supposed to get your second hook shot. So like the first half of the dungeon is like you're stuck like not being able to use the hook shot to its fullest, and then you get the second hook shot, and then you can go pretty much anywhere. And then you're supposed to get the cannon upgrade after that point, but yeah, we obviously are just not doing that entirely. Alright, so while this mech suit looks cool and everything, it is not just to bust open a couple of doors. We do actually have to use it for the beginning of the boss fight up ahead. Because the boss fight has 2 phases. Phase 1 is it has like a shield and shoots a bunch of shots at you, and you just have to kind of wail on it with the rockets from this mech suit until it goes down. And then phase 2 is the actual normal boss fight where you're on foot. So let's go ahead and get the attack cog going, and let's do this. Dang. Okay. So there is a way to get control during this intro cutscene by like getting out of the mech suit, hitting that switch while you're out of it, and like getting back in, but I am not good at it, so I don't get it most of the time. I think I've gotten it like once ever, so unfortunately I did not get it this time, but it's not a big deal. It just saves a little bit of time because you're able to hit the boss during the intro cutscene a little bit. So I want to make sure I don't get hit here for obvious reasons, but also because it messes up the combo, and having a higher combo is very good for this beginning here, because it makes you do a lot more damage with these missiles. Alright, there we go. And that's phase 1 done. Phase 1's very easy. It's just, you know, don't get hit, so you have a phase 2 that goes well. But phase 2 is also not that bad if you do it correctly, but I do need to be careful, because this boss hits hard.
I can imagine he's a big robot.
With a big sword, too. Yeah, this is Nova. That is their name. Okay. Let's get the spin attack off. There we go. Boss is almost dead. Just need to get one more set of parries off, and I will take him out.
Nice one.
Problem is he spawns ads, and so I also have to parry all of the ads.
Ooh.
There we go. Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't get a trick at the end there, where if I had shot one of the ads jumping around with my shotgun before that cutscene started, it would have stored my combo meter, and I would have been able to carry that into the next boss fight, starting out at maximum.
Ooh.
But unfortunately, I didn't quite pull it off, because, again, that's another trick where it's, like, not hard, but it's not the easiest thing to do either.
It's a challenge, but it's doable.
Yeah, like I've done it a couple of times. I got it in my practice run last night, for example, but it's not like the biggest deal in the world. It just makes the fight take like 5-10 seconds longer.
Yeah.
All right, and so this next fight gets sequence broken so much that I don't even need to unequip my attack cogs before getting to it. Because the boss I just fought was supposed to be the 5th boss normally, and this next boss is the 4th boss casually.
Yeah.
So we're gonna just go over here, activate this terminal right here, which will make it so I can take an elevator up to the next floor. And this is basically like a shortcut that you open after you beat the 4th boss.
Yeah.
But we haven't fought the 4th boss yet, so we just go over here, zip across that gap, and this is we're already there.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, we do none of the dungeons we do as intended, but this is the one we do the least intended stuff, because we do actually none of it.
Yeah. It's like,
right.
Fuck you, dungeon, I'm not gonna do your shit.
Alright. So with that giant eagle in the middle is the boss. This is Soul. Not to be confused with Beam Queen Soul. This is Mechanical Eagle Soul. Alright, and the reason why this boss fight's so easy is because if you know what you're doing, you're able to just do a lot of damage really easily to it.
Yeah.
Alright.
You just wallop it very quickly.
There we go. And the fight's over.
Nice one.
Yeah, basically, if I had come in with the full combo, it would have been defeated by the time like the electricity happens the first time, which would have only been like 5 or 10 seconds faster. But like, 5 or 10 seconds when all you have to do is shoot a shot before a cutscene. It's nice when you're able to get it.
Yeah, I can understand that.
All right, so now we gotta do one more of these. This, like I said, this is the hardest one just because I'm bad at remembering the path for it. Over here. Because since these platforms only show up when you're like near the side that they appear from, if you forget which one it is, you're just kind of stuck floundering around until you figure out where to go.
I can, yeah, looking at it, it's kind of just like, where the fuck are we going in?
Yeah, even casually, I hated these sections. They were very annoying, but that is the last one. And so now that we have all 5 of the MacGuffins, it's time to go craft the Super MacGuffin. But first we gotta actually make it out of here, because since everything crashed, we're not able to just like leave from here. We have to actually like go to a warp terminal and leave from there.
Yeah.
So this is how you're supposed to get to that area where the 5th dungeon is. Like, you're supposed to crash here, and then you're in the outskirts of the town, and that's where the factory is. But yeah, we don't have to worry about any of that. We're just going.
Nice one.
All right, so unlock a couple more chip slots real quick, because we have the one important chip is the jumper chip, which makes it so the jump attacks do 50% more damage, but the game also gives you a health chip for free. So since I have the money in the slot, I just equip it for 1 extra health, because why not?
Yeah, gotta have it free.
All right, so let's go craft the Meteor Blade.
And that's like the ultimate MacGuffin.
Exactly. Although, specifically, we're not actually crafting the Meteor Blade, we're crafting the Meteor Axe, because it does more damage. The difference between swords and axes, like, the main difference is the fact that swords take less stamina, but axes do more damage. And so in a speedrun context, more damage is always faster. Alright, so let's go ahead and equip that now to make sure I don't forget. And let's go warp. So we unlocked a terminal that is right outside of the final dungeon earlier, but actually, I lied. We're not doing the final dungeon yet. We're taking a detour.
Huh?
And this detour is for the speedrun. This is not like just for fun or anything. There's a reason for this. Because we're gonna go fight an optional boss real quick.
Okay.
This boss is not required to beat the game at 90%, but it is faster to actually fight this boss. And the reason why will be clear once we actually get into the final dungeon, but for now, we just gotta go do this fight, because this fight, if you do it correctly, is extremely fast. Alright, so come in here. The way the mechanic for this boss is, it's like you come in here, this game has like a whole mechanic with like the timer system, where if you you can like sacrifice other characters' time to give yourself more time and stuff like that. But if you select to sacrifice the NPC here instead, you fight them. And so, here. Make sure I get my parries. There we go. And the boss is dead. Alright, so the reason we fought that boss is to pick up the key card that I got right there. That key card is going to be very important in this final dungeon here.
I take it it's a way to just get through it even quicker than you would normally.
Exactly.
Like open up areas
so
that you wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
Yeah, so there's basically like two reasons why we do that. The first one is because it makes the final dungeon a lot faster, and the second is it makes the post-final boss segment faster. So yeah, the gimmick for this entire final dungeon is it just has a bunch of wave fights where like each wave of the wave fight gives you different enemies, and as you go through the dungeon, it like gives you enemies from like further and further into the game. So like it starts out with like the basic enemies from like the first dungeon in the overworld, and then by the last wave fight, it's giving you the enemies from like the last dungeon. And so while we do have to do a couple of these wave fights, the reason why I picked up that key card is it lets us skip about half of the final dungeon.
Yeah.
And so, as a result, we only have to do 2 of these wave fights, as opposed to significantly more than 2. And as you saw, that optional boss was very fast, so like we barely even sacrifice any time to actually save this time in the first place.
Yeah, it's just over very quickly.
Yeah, and it also makes the final dungeon a lot easier because, again, less fighting means less chances to die.
Definitely.
Alright, insert the key card. There. Say this is a secret room. There is a wave fight in here if I went straight up instead of left to the elevator. Yeah, we skipped straight from B2 to B4.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we just do one more wave fight and we're at the final boss. But this wave fight is not easy, so I need to make sure I don't mess it up.
Damn. Good luck.
So this first part of it isn't too bad. It's the second part that worries me a little bit. There we go. If my parries were just a little worse timed, I would have gotten walloped by that big guy with the giant hammer.
Yeah, it would have ended up just like killing you, like not killing the run, but like just like absolutely just annihilating you.
Exactly. Alright, so now that I am down here, I'm going to do one last bit of crafting to craft a couple more consumable cogs, specifically 2 attack cogs. I could have crafted these earlier in the run, potentially, but the safest time to do it is now. And so now we are just going to go fight the final boss. So yeah, the final boss is a 3-phase fight. The stamina cogs, by the way, are active for 2 minutes each, and they give you 50% more stamina, which just makes it easier to attack.
Yeah.
But this is a 3-phase fight. Phase 1 looks a little familiar, because it's just going to cycle between all of the bosses that we've already fought. So here's Luna from the museum. Alright, so thankfully they all have the exact same attack patterns from earlier in the run, so like if you know what you're doing from the earlier fights, you can translate that here pretty easily. But you still have to, you know, make sure you do them correctly, which I did not because I messed up my spin attack. That's okay. Here's a sauna, but okay. That is phase 1 down. And phase 2, you know, you might have thought one boss is too easy. Now there's going to be 2 of them. It starts off with Luna in the top left corner and Nova in the top right corner. They both share a health bar, but they're both attacking me at the exact same time.
So basically, you just get constantly barraged by it.
Exactly. So I need to be careful here, but there we go. Thankfully, since they share a health bar, it makes, in addition to the boss fight going quickly if you have a full combo, if you're able to hit them both with an attack, you're doing twice as much. But now it's time for Phase 3. Phase 3 is something completely different.
I'm assuming Phase 3 is like the actual boss finally shows itself instead of...
Because this is Anima Nightmare. If you know what you're doing, if you come in here with a full combo and know what you're doing, this fight's not that bad, but it's not easy. Alright, so it starts off with these attacks where it just shoots a bunch of shots at me, but as the fight goes on and you do more damage, it gets more attacks. Like when it spawns arms. So yeah, these arms will just pop out of the ground and try to hit me, so I need to be careful to not get hit by them, followed by it leaving this giant chair, I guess you would call it, and to try to attack me directly, which is good, because this is the attack that I can parry, which means this is the attack that lets me do extra damage if I do it correctly.
Yeah, I get that.
Alright, so only a few more hits and this fight's over, but I need to be careful not to mess up at this point.
I understand, because I'm doing one slip up, send you back.
Yeah, I gotta redo the entire fight if I mess up. Alright, there we go.
That's not...
We'll pet Shaq one more time while the boss is dying.
Nice.
Alright, and after this, there's like a couple cutscenes, and then an escape sequence, and we get to skip the entire escape sequence because we fought that optional boss. And so time will be coming up in about like 15-20 seconds. Unfortunately, you can't skip this dialogue from the boss. So you just gotta see it wax on about love for a little bit. Alright. And then we wake up. The tower's exploding, but time is now time. Because, like I said, we get to skip that entire escape sequence because the boss that we fought actually comes and rescues us. Because we're chill now after the fight.
Fair.
But yeah, that was Unsighted Any Percent with Shaq, with an appearance from Shaq the Shiba.
Yep. That game looks like a lot of fun. I honestly might pick it up at some point.
Oh yeah, no, this is definitely a fun game. It's a very, very difficult game because, like I briefly touched on it, but every character in the entire game is on a timer that is based on the in-game time, and so if you take too long to beat the game, characters start dying off. So like you can't, if you wait too long, you won't be able to like go to the shops anymore or upgrade your weapons and stuff like that. So it's stressful if you decide to leave that setting on. You can turn it off, thankfully, but the way the game is intended to be played, that is a thing. But also, even casually, I did a good job of showcasing what decent combat looks like, but when you're starting out, you will be dying to all of those fights so much.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
But yeah, that is Unsighted 90%. This is what I've spent the last couple of months learning for Speedromizer here.
And do you want to give some passing words before we wrap up?
Yeah, sure. I'll shout out Waffle, the person who submitted this game to the marathon and gave me help all throughout my time learning this game. Shoutouts to just the Unsighted community as well, because they have a really good tutorial in that they like lay out everything, like when you need to get all of the equipment. It has all the blueprints in it. It has like videos for like fast boss fights, stuff like that, and I used that tutorial the entire time I was learning this game, even though I had to make some changes here and there to fit me personally. But like I said, if you wanted to try learning this game, there is a phenomenal tutorial out there, which I appreciate a lot. And yeah, if you wanted to see more of me in general, because I speedrun, not specifically just this game or anything, obviously, because I submitted a game myself that somebody else will be running next weekend. But I run a lot of indie games in general. Usually a lot of platformers, but not exclusively. So if you want to see more of the kind of stuff that I do, feel free to check me out at twitch.tv/IllegallySam.
Nice.
But yeah, that's a... Here, in true Shaq fashion, we're going to name our run Shaq.
Nice.
Because there is a leaderboard. I don't think we're on the leaderboard because I don't think this was one of my best in-game times.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was on there, it would be Shaq. Yeah, I think I missed it by like 40 seconds. That's fine. But yeah, that is about it for me. Thanks for hosting this, Sally. And yeah,
No problem.
Everybody have a good day.
You too. Right. So, that's my final run of the day. I have no more runs today to look over. I'll be passing you on to Sol, who will be hosting for the rest. Let me just check for the rest of the day. For the rest of the day here. Yep. And right. And yeah, that's about it for me today. I will see you guys again tomorrow around the same time, and we can continue from there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye for now.
Or swap or whatever. Hello, Speedromizer community. It's me again. I'm back. You can't get rid of me. I'm sorry. But yes, for those who don't know me, I am Bean Queen Soul, and I am here for the next couple of runs. So, first of all, what is Speedromizer? Speedromizer is the charity marathon with a twist, where what you submit is not what you run. The runs are instead shuffled across every runner, and then they have 90 days to learn a different game. If any of that sounds like a fun time to you, you can join us at our Discord server through speedromizer.live/discord. And you can join the ever-growing community of 150 plus runners that's been learning 200 plus individual runs since 2023, and we're still going strong. There's still going to be a lot. That number's going to get even higher the more we go. But also, if you're curious about what we are doing this for, we are actually doing donations for QMUNITY, British Columbia's Queer, Trans, and Two-Spirit Resource Center. They are a profits-wide resource center that delivering programs and services and providing a safe space for two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersexual, and asexual folks and their allies. So if that sounds like a great thing, which I hope it is, I know it is. You can donate through speedromizer.live/donate. That'll take you to our Tiltify page. Remember, you can put any and all donations towards any of our currently active incentives or polls, and we got quite a few for that. But anyways, we are pretty close to having our Ultima 3 run at the ready, so sit tight for a couple minutes. We'll be back soon, and we will have that going for you.